I think we are.
Well, they think we are. I said they all think we're gonna do something.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Ready?
Yeah, all right.
Okay, if I could have everyone's attention, I'd like to call the regular city commission meeting of Tuesday, March 18th, 2025 to order, and ask all of you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call. Mayor Pro Tem Olsman.
Present.
Commissioner Rozelle.
Present.
Commissioner Steinhardt.
Present.
Commissioner Elder is excused. Mayor Paul present. We have an agenda in front of us. There is one addition to the agenda. We'll call it item number 7, to receive and accept a letter from City Manager Chris Wilson.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move to approve the amended agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We have 3 communications. I don't think there's anything we have to do with any of those.
Just for your information.
Just want to comment on one if I could, Mr. Mayor.
Certainly.
That is the letter from the county regarding the assessing services. These rates are being redeveloped right now. I suspect at some point we're going to receive an increase. They're sort of being done in a vacuum in a pretty clandestine nature, but I do think that later this month we'll see an increase in these rates. So I still think it makes sense to contract out like we've been doing, but I just don't want anybody to be surprised. From what I'm hearing, I think everyone's going to see a sizable increase.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
just very quickly, I concur with Mr. Rozelle. That's why I included that notice, because there will be probably a rate increase coming along. But the Oakland County Treasurer did ask if we could read their communication into the record. The foreclosure prevention notice. He did just ask if you could, that be read into the official, read at the meeting. Do you have it? Do you want me to pull it up here?
You have it somewhere on here, but my computer is,
You want to read it? You want me to read it?
sure, you can go ahead and read it. That's fine.
Okay. From Robert Wittenberg, the Oakland County Treasurer's Office is in the final stretch of our foreclosure prevention efforts. Tax foreclosure deadline for the 2022 and/or prior tax years is March 31st, 2025. That means if these taxes aren't paid off by March 31st, or any interested party hasn't entered into a repayment schedule with the Treasurer's Office by then, the property will be foreclosed. Since December of 2024, the Treasurer's Office has conducted over 1,000 taxpayer assistance meetings to assist taxpayers with keeping their properties by working to get them on a repayment schedule and/or by identifying resources that may be beneficial to them in their situation. We are here to help and strongly encourage taxpayers to contact us before the tax foreclosure deadline if they have delinquent taxes for 2022 and/or prior tax years. Taxpayers interested in scheduling taxpayer assistance meeting may call us at 248-858-0611, or they may visit www.oakgov.com/treasurer. Thank you, Robert Wittenberg, Oakland County Treasurer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to elected official remarks.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. I am State Representative Natalie Price. I wanted to come and officially introduce myself to the commission, say hello. This is my second term in office as a state rep, but due to the redistricting, this is my first year representing Huntington Woods in Lansing. I want you to know that before becoming a state rep, I served on Berkeley City Council, that municipal issues, municipal control, and state revenue sharing are top priorities for me in office. I greatly appreciate the service that you each do. I want to make sure that you have the support that you need to be successful in your roles. I also want you to know that before becoming an elected official, I was a stay-at-home mom. I taught the parent taught class at the community center in Berkeley. And before that, I was a high school English teacher. So I went to Lansing to fight for equitable funding for education. Last term, I served on the school aid subcommittee with your rep at the time, Regina Weiss, who was a fantastic chair of that committee. Together, we did some things I'm incredibly proud of. Historic funding for education, more equitable funding for at-risk students, free breakfasts and lunches for all students. Now things have shifted a little bit. In the State House, we are in the minority. I am continuing my work on appropriations, the budget committees. I am the minority vice chair, the ranking chair of the public health subcommittee for appropriations, using the work that I did on healthcare issues to advocate for funding for public health and Medicaid. One of the things I'm paying attention to, especially right now, is just 2 weeks ago, the House Republicans passed a budget that zeroed out DHHS, also included over $3 billion cut to our school aid K-12 resources. So they started the negotiations with very little, and in minority, we're doing what we can to fight for these things that we care about: funding education, funding public health, funding healthcare and Medicaid. I also serve on the EGLE, Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy Subcommittee. So this morning, heard testimony about important environmental protections that, again, in a zero-out budget that passed out of the House. So letting everybody know these are things that I think our communities, I live in Berkeley, Huntington Woods, we care about education, we care about healthcare, we care about the environment, and just encouraging people to pay attention and never hesitate to reach out. If there are any issues, or state departments or resources that anyone's having trouble navigating, I did give my card, my contact information to each of the commissioners. I'm easy to find. Googling Natalie Price, State Representative. You'll find my office's phone, email, physical address. Please never hesitate to reach out and use me and my staff as a resource. I don't know if I'm allowed to take questions, but I'm very happy to take questions if allowed and if you have any.
Anyone have a?
I was going to say that I've known you since before you were in office when our kids were at Temple Emmanuel preschool together, and so it's so great to see you representing our community. So thank you for everything that you do for us.
Thank you. I'm really, again, Berkeley, Huntington Woods, we share so much. School district, downtown, resources, but the way that I've been welcomed into your community since becoming a state representative, I'm incredibly grateful. I think that people are engaged, they show up, they pay attention, and I feel so lucky to have Huntington Woods in my district. So, thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you coming in.
Of course, thanks.
Okay. Moving on to proclamations. We have a couple proclamations this evening. The first one is proclaiming March 2025 as Women's History Month. Whereas women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways. Whereas women have played and continue to play critical economic, cultural, and social role in every sphere of life of the nation by constituting a significant portion of the labor force working inside and outside the home. Whereas women have played a unique role throughout the history of the nation by providing a majority of the volunteer labor force of the nation. And whereas women were particularly important in the establishment of early charitable, philanthropic, cultural institutions in our nation. Whereas women of every race, class, and ethnic background served as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social change movement. And whereas women have served our country courageously in the military, and whereas women have been leaders not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolitionist movement, the emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, and other movements, especially for peace movements, which create a more fair and just society for all. And whereas despite these contributions, the role of women in history has been consistently overlooked and undervalued in the literature, teaching, and study of American history. And now, therefore, be it recognized by the City of Huntington Woods that March 2025 is designated as Women's History Month, proclaimed this 18th day of March 2025. Second proclamation is recognizing April 25th, 2025 as Arbor Day and April 22nd, 2025 as Earth Day in the City of Huntington Woods. This is something that we traditionally do every year. We're proud recipients of Tree City USA. This is our 36th year that we've received that. And I'm going to skip through some of this and just get to the final resolution. Therefore, be it resolved that the City of Huntington Woods does proclaim April 22nd, 2025 as Earth Day and April 25th, 2025 as Arbor Day in the City of Huntington Woods, and urges all residents to join the celebration by supporting the city's urban forestry program and by planting, nurturing, and protecting trees on both public and private property for the betterment of our community. Proclaimed the regular City Commission meeting of March 18th, 2025. Now, moving on to public participation. This is an opportunity for the public to make a comment on an item that is not on the agenda. We ask that you come forward, give us your name and address. It looks like we have a lot of people here this evening, so we can try and keep our remarks to 2 minutes or under. That'll help give everyone an opportunity to speak.
Good evening, neighbors, council members, and friends. I am Joanne, and I have lived in the woods since 1989. I am here tonight to discuss a proposal for a uniform policy regarding the use of rooms at the rec center, the library, the park spaces, and event areas for the residents of Huntington Woods. Our families have thrived in a community that values a rich diversity of opinions. We have parks, a rec center, and a library that have been enjoyed by residents of this community for decades. We appreciate and thank you for the efforts you have made to keep this community a wonderful place to live. Recently, there have been bookings from groups who would like to use our library, rec center, and parks. They have sent out invitations to join them at meetings through their Facebook group. The last invitation included an inverted red triangle, a symbol used to identify, harass, and target Jews. This is crossing the line. Achieving a balance between public safety and free speech is a complex and ongoing challenge that requires careful consideration of legal principles, societal values, and practical realities. While the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution guarantees the right to free speech, this is not an absolute. An inverted triangle is inflammatory and threatening. I'm requesting the council members review the current policies they have in place. I'm asking you to create a standard meeting room and public space use application, use one decision maker on the use of space, and adopt a standard uniform policy on the standard of use of the space that applies to all groups and individuals who wish to rent space in Huntington Woods. Thank you for Thank you for your time in reviewing this matter.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Mary Murphy, and I live at 12767 Nadine. I'm here just because of the building at the schools and on Nadine. It would have been nice to get information regarding what the builders were doing. And secondly, this week, or at the end of last week, our front of our house became a crosswalk. I'm having no problem with it being a crosswalk. It's just, it would be nice to know. Also, it's dangerous going down Nadine during school hours. So I'm asking if you could have someone, your public safety or police, whichever way you want to call that they're out there, because cars don't want to wait for people, for the kids to cross the street. And people are trying, I mean, the principal's been out there trying to get everybody to walk over, cross at our driveway, cross wherever they want between our house and the Wittenbergs. And, you know, that's fine, that's safety, that's cool, that can happen. But people don't want to wait. They're turning their big old cars around. You can't see a kid or some, you know, any size child over the front edge of most of the big cars. All I'm asking is there's someone out there to make that one way or to stop people from doing that and just slow it down. I worked in a pediatric ER for a long time. You don't want someone hit.
Thanks for your comments.
And communication would have been so nice.
Could you want to explain the crosswalk, and can we pass this information on to the school board so that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that is
they
a
can-
school
the
board
district can
construction
do a better
project.
job.
I was gonna talk about that at my manager's report, but I'll talk about it now if you'd like. Yeah, we got notification of the crosswalk today, and I saw it, I knew we had marked that. The school had put in a temporary crossing at Nadine because they are milling that parking lot that was there, the parking that was on Nadine, and then another parking lot that was on their property. They've been milling that off this week. So when the milling machine is there, they have to shut down that entire sidewalk. You can't get through because the sidewalk's closed. So ideally, with the sidewalk closed, they should have put up advanced signing probably to have people not coming down that way. But if you get down there, there's nowhere else to go. That's why they marked it. The only other place where if it went farther east of there, it would have been in the driveway and in the driveway of the residence. They can't put a crosswalk into a driveway residence, so I sent Public Safety and DPW over there today to take a look at it. We did not mark that. They're gonna work something up with the school. It should be out of there in a couple of days when they're finished with the milling. But that was done by the construction company, not by us, and we saw it unfortunately after the fact. So, well, we will work for some directed patrol. We have been doing that a bit already. But, yeah, I'll pass those comments on to the principal and to the superintendent as well, because that's their construction project.
And to public safety for us to
Yes, public,
address these concerns.
yes, they are working on that.
Hi, I'm not going to provide my name. You guys have seen me before. It's because of the incident in front of my house when a knife-wielding Jew, self-proclaimed Jew hater, threatened my family and said he was going to come back and again, so I don't identify myself publicly. I'm here to talk about the policy regarding rooms and facilities in the neighborhood. First, I want to thank you all. I know you're taking this matter incredibly seriously. Please take the time you need, get the legal advice you need, and really think this through. Not for me, I'm one voice, not for whoever shows up, the entire neighborhood, because it's a huge issue. I want to say at the last meeting, I think we had 90% of the people talk about free speech at the last meeting. It had a big impact on me because I have deep respect and agree with most of what they said. The right to free speech is absolutely imperative. But there was one woman who stood up to say something else. And she was very brave in a room full of opposing views. She came up here and she talked about her fear as a Jew and fear of her safety. And she was totally dismissed, first with moans and groans from people who were here, and then one person shouted out, "That's stupid." So as you think about this policy, please ask yourself, why is it when Jews say they're fearful for their safety that people dismiss it and don't listen? I'm not sure the room policy issue has been framed clearly enough. Joanne did a great job, but there's two things at issue here that are true. One, it is true that there's a right to free speech, but it is also true that we have a right to safety, our health, and our welfare. There's both. That's why it's hard what's in front of you. You're not the only one dealing with it. I encourage you to see what Santo Ono was dealing with. He made comments about the very topic 2 days ago, yesterday. But here's what I know. It's undeniable that the safety of Jews is at risk. Anti-Semitism is on the rise. It is not safe to advertise on an open-ended basis in a small basement of a library, to not know who's coming, to have it an open invitation blasted on the internet on a topic that's red hot controversial, that two different groups have such opposing views. To have it promoted by a group that supports Hamas, a designated terrorist organization, to be promoted with an inverted red triangle, which is used to target Jews everywhere, including in Huntington Woods. It was a symbol adopted from the use of the Nazis that killed Jews. That is not safe. That's undeniable. I'm asking you to come up with a policy that protects our free speech, but keeps us safe. Lastly, we formed a group. I just wanted to publicly announce it. It's called Citizens Against Hate and Anti-Semitic Indoctrination. I'll leave this for you. We have 100 members from Huntington Woods in our group. We've been meeting really the core of the group since October 7th. And I hope you join us. There's a barcode. You can scan it, and you can be part of our discussions as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, this item's on the agenda, so I'm wondering, should we move this item up on the agenda and just take care of it now, or should we let the public know to hold the comment until item 6? Because
That's
we're,
it. I would support moving it up. I think that's fine. Most-
I mean, the item that's on the agenda is strictly a moratorium. It's not really the policy. So,
I mean, we are going to be discussing,
so far I haven't heard any comments regarding the moratorium. They're more to the policy, which we are not going to discuss this evening because we don't have a policy yet to even start talking about. So I'm going to, as long as you're not talking about the moratorium, which is an agenda item, I'm going to allow this.
Hello, and thank you for the opportunity to come before you this evening. I'm a Huntington Woods resident, and I've had the good fortune of growing up here. My father had the honor of serving several mayors. He was on advisory boards, recreation boards, and his commitment to civil rights, the ACLU, as well as my mother, who taught public school in Detroit for over 35 years, has inspired my own commitment to this community. I have no problem with the First Amendment. Josh covered all that beautifully. I love the First Amendment. I have no problem with the Peace Group. I love the Peace Group, especially Evelyn Barron. She was one of the founding members. She's a dear friend, and I loved how she marched in the 4th of July parade holding a Bring Them Home Hostage sign. But it's because of this love for my community that I must express my deep concern about recent events in our public spaces. At a recent peace/ceasefire event called Report from Gaza in the basement of the public library, upon entry, I was solicited to make a donation and sign a petition. An unwelcoming person asked how I found out about the event and asked me to leave. Behind me, another man started yelling at a woman, telling her that she didn't belong here, to get out, and called her a bitch. He was clearly unhinged, and the police were ultimately called. I felt threatened and scared. this certainly did not feel like the Huntington Woods that I knew, or that I know. After that, I was concerned by a public invitation on Facebook that has been mentioned previously for a community resistance meeting to be held at the rec center. I have some visual aids here. So here's the picture, just so you can all see what everyone's talking about. This was on Facebook publicly. And the invitation, besides the red triangle, it discusses the elimination of the Jewish people worldwide. It's used as a symbol to mark Jews for attack. Currently, the German government is currently seeking a ban on it because it is a hate symbol. It was also used in concentration camps to brand political prisoners and the gay community. This council may also remember that the same inverted triangle was graffitied on the home of one of our neighbors. I will not mention his name here, but here's a picture of his car. And his home was also vandalized. There were severed baby heads on his lawn, and there were broken windows besides the car here where it says Free Palestine and the inverted triangle. As a reminder, this was done on the evening of the Report from Gaza Library event where the police were called. Same day. Almost finished here. After the kite flying event in Burton Field, which we were also not quite welcome at, the gentleman pictured here took a lot of pictures, put his camera in our faces, and went on Instagram Live after the event, elated that he had intimidated the Jews all over the internet from Huntington Woods. Here they are. I understand that there's a delicate balance. I really do. Free speech is not hate speech, however. And I realize that these are probably just a few bad actors amongst wonderful people. But let's not wait for another incident or an incident. I respectfully ask the City Council to adopt and enforce uniform policies for the use of spaces by all our groups. And I really genuinely look forward to finding an understanding between all of us. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Sue Carden, 13307 Vernon, longtime resident of the city. So we don't have a kind of crisis that merits censorship via a room policy. I agree with the previous speakers that say we need a fair policy, but we don't need a policy that limits political speech. And I don't think we're in the crisis situation that many people feel that we're in. It's important that they feel that way, but I don't think the reality is that the crisis is within Huntington Woods. The attacks on the Jordan Acker household have occurred to other University of Michigan regents. University of Michigan officials have also been attacked. I don't think that's because he lives in Huntington Woods or because he's Jewish. Some of the attacks look like anti-Semitism, but they're political attacks. They're attacks against the government of Netanyahu. Just today, hundreds of Palestinian children have been killed. There's hardship, there's grief on both sides. Our city is in an era of high anxiety, high depression, high worry, high paranoia, but still, we can't rely on censorship. We have a meeting tonight where people are going to express many different kind of views, and censorship of a room policy would be the equivalent of the city saying, well, we're not going to have public participation when there's a crisis. We'll have public participation after the Israeli-Gaza war is done. But the time for free speech and the time for public participation is when you are in this kind of tense situation. There's no real connection
I understand that people dislike some of the activities, but there's no real connection between an event that happened in our library and an attack on something like the Jordan, on the Acker household, pardon me. So the real crisis, and we have to expand the definition of anti-Semitism a little bit, doesn't merely come from people who are for a peace settlement or people who are for a two-state solution. We have a president that talks about the nation being a white Christian nation. We have a president who releases people who attacked the Capitol and beat up policemen, some of whom wore a sweatshirt that said 6 million wasn't enough. The attack on Jewish people is much more substantial coming from people like that, coming from the people in Howell who stand outside a theater because that theater is showing the Diary of Anne Frank. So we can't narrow this to just a dispute between two small groups. And it's important to keep these discussions alive, just like it's important to keep this discussion alive here tonight. And just like I value hearing from both sides, because there's a large area of agreement in terms of a fair policy, we cannot follow what's becoming the national model of censorship based on who you are, whether you support the president, or whether you voted for the president, or whether you're a person who makes a statement at a university in support of Palestinians. So I would urge the city to do what we all want to do as American citizens, and that's to preserve the rights of free speech, to preserve the democracy. As small a city as we are, we play an important role in our whole nation, and right here today we need a policy that says we are in support of free speech. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Andy Doctoroff, 26413 Huntington. Thank you for hearing us. I speak to you as the fortunate past member of the Planning Commission for 6 years, the Zoning Board of Appeals right now. I have nothing other than respect for the city's leadership and the earnest way it goes about doing its business. I wasn't going to speak. However, I think it does a disservice to refer obliquely or otherwise to this community as being paranoid. It is not. The fact that we have so many people concerned about this issue is a testament to legitimate concerns and fears and worries. So the question really is not whether or not free speech rights should be protected. Of course they should be. The question is how. How does this body do that? And I know that you are in active communication with leaders of the groups. Many of the people here are speaking tonight, and you're consulting your attorneys. In my opinion, as this issue and people's understanding of it has coalesced over the last several months, the issue can be, if not simplified, understood to a meaningful extent by the balance. And I look at the fact that I have yet to hear articulation of reasonable time, place, and manners regulations that would be not just uniformly promulgated, but also enforced. So my question to you, which of course is not going to be answered and should not be answered tonight, is the city doing what it needs to, what it should do, to both protect First Amendment speech, but also enforce reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions so everyone is treated equally and everyone's rights and safeties are protected. And I would hope that as you continue your conversations with your attorneys and with folks like Mr. Yolis, that principle is something that is considered again and again, because I think that's where the solution to this challenge lies. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. Amy Schlussel, 13147 Sherwood.
I was born in Huntington Woods. I think we've lived here for about 26 years. Echoing and expanding on a lot of what people have already stated, and that I think a lot of this is hiding behind the First Amendment. This is a no-brainer. This is not censorship. We're asking for a uniform policy to be applied to all. And as Andy just said, you need to balance, if you want to look at the First Amendment, you need to balance the First Amendment with your duty. And your duty and a government's responsibility is to the health, safety, and welfare of its citizens. It's not to put on programs and events. It's to the health, safety, and welfare of its citizens. And when speech or programming threatens that health, safety, and welfare of its citizens, you have a duty to act. And I want to echo the prior gentleman's statements and the other gentleman who seemed to mock paranoia of the Jews. Jews account for about less than 2% of the world's population, specifically this country's population. And they account for 68% of the hate crimes. That's data, that's specific, and that's statistics. So my other question to you is, are we supposed to wait for a real crisis to come to our neighborhood? And the more communities who allow threatening speech, threatening programming that jeopardize the health, safety, and welfare of its citizens are allowing that to happen. So I'm just going to reiterate that you have a duty to act. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. I feel like many of you know me as I volunteer on 2 of the city boards. Bree Stocker Smart, 13101 Balfour. You have a duty to keep us safe, but also as our city commissioners, our elected officials, you represent our entire community, not just one loud vocal minority. So, as a Jewish woman, I know that there is a general feeling of fear and hate in the global community, especially in our federal government. I actually specifically moved to Huntington Woods to be in an area that identified as progressive, liberal, and where Jewish people could feel safe. And here in Huntington Woods, I have never felt fear or hate that I have seen globally. Until I shared a viewpoint on a Huntington Woods parents page on social media. That viewpoint was different than this local, vocal community of my Jewish neighbors. And I was villainized by this loud minority. My Jewish peers and neighbors showed me hate and anger like I have not seen from anyone else in the Huntington Woods community. I served as the vice chair of the local Dem Club, where we were allowed to rent rooms. I attend the Huntington Woods Peace Group meetings, where we can rent rooms. We've gone to the library for these meetings, and they are filled with people who want to root out violence with peace. They are not a scary group. I am aware of a new group of our neighbors who have organized the Huntington Woods Ceasefire Group. I am not a member. I have not been to those meetings. I have not seen the same Facebook posts that these folks have. What I have been told and what I have seen about this group was a positive way for a very small minority to peacefully assemble and to get together to try and move towards an end to a war that is just dividing the world. So this small group is focused on peace, ending a war. It has members who live in this community who are Palestinian. There are very few Palestinian members in this community. And the hate that this group has received feels very specific, and it feels very, very Islamophobe, anti-Muslim. It feels like it is very directed. And to me, I find it strange that there has never been an issue with our room rentals until this group existed. And now there are issues with having free speech and a place to peacefully assemble. So also as a Jew, I feel I need my community surrounding me. I need to feel comfort in places where I can be safe, like a library, like a room rental in the rec center, because we should be able to talk to each other and to work with each other and to learn from each other. Having diverse views is not a bad thing, and maybe we all could learn from each other and feel comfortable in a community where we should feel safe with each other as we are neighbors. So in this political climate, I feel it's unsafe to make a rule that political groups can't rent rooms. We need to be able to connect with our community, bring in authors, politicians, rabbis, teachers, learn from each other in spaces that are safe. I think asking our local government to not allow political groups is the antithesis of what we need. And history has showed us that in times when our government is unsafe, it's those kinds of community and rooms and things like that where we need to be able to assemble and feel safe. So I believe that this is censorship and that there are other cities that allow room rentals for political reasons. I know because the Dem Club still uses these other facilities. So, and I know that there was an issue with the different rooms having different policies. And I remember trying to have a birthday party in one of these room rentals, and there was like a policy where that wasn't allowed, but it is elsewhere, it is on parks and things like that. So that having uniformity, I'm not sure if that's the right idea. This is something that can be looked into further, but I just want to say that a moratorium and not having people having a place to meet and peacefully assemble and not having the safety of their community feels like the wrong thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. If I could remind everyone, there are a lot of people here. Please try and keep your comments
Sorry.
as short as possible.
My fault.
My name is Donald Greenspan. I live at 26627 Meadowcrest Boulevard. I've lived there for over 20 years. Came today, I thought that nobody was going to be here because I think that this is a procedural issue, and the procedure that I thought that this commissioner should adhere to was that the city attorney was going to come up with a content-free proposal for room rentals. Then there was going to be public comment. It looks like we have public comment even before the policy is announced. So let me just say a couple words about the policy. Obviously, what everybody has said before is it should be content-free. Now, look what you just did. You have a proclamation recognizing Women's History Month, a great thing, but that's a political issue. You had another thing recognizing Earth Day, another political issue. You have all kinds of political issues. The issue is to make them content-free. And we should have a policy announced. We should have public comment at that time. People say they're unsafe. I'd like to reiterate a couple things that were said last time. I've been a member of the Huntington Woods Peace Group for 22 years. For 22 years, we rented rooms. There was not one instance of any problem with public safety. So people who think that they're fearful, I don't know what they're talking about. The history should be a guide, not what some projection of the future should be. If there's any problem in this society, it's the current administration, which people have said is seeping down to our community. You have Elon Musk, who gave a Nazi salute. Elon Musk, who supports the Nazi Party in Germany. And the Anti-Defamation League, the premier Jewish civil rights organization, supports Elon Musk. That's what promotes anti-Semitism, not having events that may criticize Israel. There's a difference between criticizing Israel and being anti-Semitic, okay? I'm Jewish. I appeared at the University of Michigan encampment. Everybody was saying that's anti-Semitic. You know what? It was led by Jews. The encampments all over these countries have been led by Jewish people. And what have they been accused of? They've been accused of being anti-Semitic. They've been accused of being self-hating Jews. They've been accused of not being real Jews. Well, we are real Jews. We just have political differences. So the idea is that you need a content-free proposal, and then we should discuss it at the proper time. But you can't pick and choose which things that you promote and not. You promote Earth Day, you promote Women's Day, and if we criticize Trump or we criticize Israel, then is that going to be banned? It has to be content-free. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Commissioners. I wasn't planning to speak, so I had to use my phone, so I'm going very new school, young person. Thank you, first of all, for hearing us all out again for the third meeting, I think this is. I'm here as a Huntington Woods, my name's Lori Lisi, by the way, 8775 Lincoln Drive. I'm here as a resident of 35 years of Huntington Woods and also a member of the local Democratic Club, to which Bree referred. I'm here for the third meeting in a row to advocate for allowing interest groups, political groups, the ability to rent Huntington Woods facilities, and I'm arguing against any moratorium while you come up with a policy and any prohibition on these meetings whatsoever. I agree with Joanne and others that we really should have a written uniform policy, and I know you guys agree and you're working on that, and thank you for that. But I do not believe that policy should evaluate the opinions or the content of the meeting. I am really sorry to hear that residents have been treated disrespectfully and hatefully at meetings. I don't know what we do with bad actors at meetings. I think you can have bad actors at other meetings. I am dismayed that residents feel afraid. Nonetheless, at a time when our First Amendment rights are under attack by our federal government, and when American citizens, I'm sorry, it's making me choke up. When American citizens are so divided, I do not see any way that we start to come together if we do not allow citizens to interact in person in the real world. As I think I said last month, we have so much that unites us here in the city. Our children have grown up here. Some of them have moved back and now are adults with their own kids. We attend the same 4th of July events, hay rides. We have the same issues with traffic on 11 Mile right now. It's horrible out there. And city road closures every summer drive us crazy. We all love the city. If we are ever going to be able to talk about the hard issues that we disagree on, there is no better place to have those meetings and those discussions than in our own community. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and honorable members of City Council. It's wonderful to see you all here this evening. My name is Ellen Lipton, and I've been a resident of Huntington Woods since 1993. As many of you know, I had the great honor and privilege of serving as this community's state representative for 6 years, and I'm currently the co-vice president of the Michigan Board of Education, representing the citizens of the state of Michigan on education issues. As a fellow public servant and public official, I commend you all on taking your time and thoughtfulness on an issue that has frankly sort of surprised and certainly reared its head in a number of school districts, as well as local communities around the state and around the country. I was not able to attend the meeting last month, but I do commend all of you for being thoughtful and for inviting the city attorney as well as city manager to review the city's policies regarding room rentals as well as use of its public facilities. I think that just given the amount of public comment and discussion, I think it should be apparent to everyone that there is a great deal of confusion as to the uniformity or perhaps lack of uniformity amongst the policies that govern our public spaces. First and foremost, I've reviewed the city ordinance as well as the policy, and it does appear that there is not a single point of entry for the review of applications for both public parks as well as room rentals in the library and the community center. As a method of best practice, city governments are recommended to have a single point of entry for review of room rentals, park rentals of public property, so that there's a uniformity in how the applications are being processed as well as reviewed. Secondly, a review of the existing policy for room rentals and park reservations could use some additional information. So in addition to name and numbers of people that are expected to be in attendance, the city perhaps might not be able to assess how much police support or public safety or even space considerations might be necessary if in fact the city is deprived of information in terms of how a potential public gathering is being disseminated across multiple social media sites. So although the city does require the number, it doesn't really allow for the city to adequately assess whether that's a truthful number, so that the city might not be able to prepare for excess of traffic or even just excess of attendees in a small confined space. And thirdly, I think the city's current policy is excellent in terms of asking for insurance or potential bonding if in fact inflatables where people and children could be injured. I think that's sound, but because the city is not able to adequately assess the numbers of people that might be expected for a public event or an event that's being disseminated across multiple social media platforms, the city does not have the capacity to plan for potential increase in costs of public safety or crowd control. So I think that, again, the city is taking a thoughtful and measured approach, and I am very, very appreciative of that approach. I would just continue to ask that the city continue on this process to review its policies and make sure that the policies are uniform and that the policies request and allow the city to confirm all of the information that the city would need in order to adequately prepare for any such events that occur on city property. Thank you so much, and thank you for all that you do.
Ronald Aronson, I live on Elgin. A month or so ago, I was among the more than a dozen speakers who addressed the issue of meetings that are sponsored by the Peace Group and those of us who called for the maximum possible free speech and a discussion of controversial issues. I spoke at that meeting and don't want to repeat it. We can spare you the same statements many times over, particularly commission members who are, and city manager who are sitting here patiently trying to listen to what people are saying. But something has happened in the last month, and that's the only point I want to make. What's happened in the last month is the Trump-Musk regime, and I use the word regime here, consciously knowing that this is not an elected government process, it's something else going on, that the Trump-Musk regime has been gathering steam in dozens of areas, many of them illegal, and if you open the newspaper tomorrow morning, you'll see more illegal events happening, carried out by the government, and with a to heck with you to federal judges who are trying to stop them and make things conform to law. We're in a new period, and it's a period where people who want to shut up other people basically don't give a damn. Trump basically doesn't give a damn, and we've seen this happening, and he's getting away with it. I think we have to be very careful about sticking very closely to basic principles and, above all, the principle of free speech. I'd like to invite everybody here, audience, commission members, to the Peace Group's next meeting at the library, Tuesday night, the 25th, in which we're going to talk about one of the Trump-Musk regime's areas of assault, one of dozens of them, on education, on free speech, on academic freedom, on a whole range of things, public schools, and so on and so forth. We'd like you to come to that and hear the kind of real discussion of issues back and forth that we've been used to presenting for the past 22 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, commissioners and mayor. Thank you for taking the time here. I appreciate it. Todd Saxey, 8577 Hendry. Yes, I lived in Huntington Woods for 44 years of my life. And actually, great stat, my children are the 4th generation to live in Huntington Woods. That's just a fun fact. So I think there's no doubt that everybody recognizes that this upside down, inverted, red triangle, what it means. And if you don't know, I encourage you to do the homework. Last night I specifically went and saw a movie called October 8th. It's a documentary of what happened on October 7th. When you see that video, they have actual footage from Hamas that shows the inverted triangle on Jews that means to assassinate them. It is a death sentence. So let's change the vernacular here. Let's pretend for a moment that instead it was a red upside down triangle, it was a noose. And it wasn't directing at Jews or white people. It was directed at black people. And there was an organization that was publicly promoting an event in Huntington Woods that had on their Facebook page and other things showing a noose talking about all lives matter, whatever it is that one might argue is anti or racist against black people, and it had a noose hanging over that.
would one be able to sit here and say, which another gentleman said, why are you so afraid? Why do you feel threatened? It's not threatening? Are you kidding? So for some reason, when something comes up, as I said earlier, when it's about the Jews, it's okay. You can do things that are threatening. You can do things that actually mean it's known. That means to kill. Not to oppress, but to kill. And somehow that doesn't imply that there's fear. So I just want sometimes that people think and take it, just change it. Just open up your mind, close your eyes and think. See the news and see the organization is saying that. And I want to know how this group, or this city, or the people in this room would react to that. I know exactly how they'd be appalled. They would not allow that group to participate or be in any part of our organization. So free speech is absolutely legitimate. I'm passionate about it. I don't need to repeat what everybody said. But when you know groups have a different objective and they're publicizing that, that promotes fear and hatred and makes it unsafe. I ask you to take that into consideration. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. I was not meaning to talk here tonight, but I've heard a lot of what was said, and I felt that I had to comment. My name is Alice Mendelson. I've been living in this community for 26 years. And for 26 years, it has been a peaceful and accepting community to all types of people. And when people say to me, it's always been safe here, and there was a group for peace that was advocating for peace for all these years, and it's been safe, what changed now? Now is after October 7th. Now is after there's global hate against Jews. So I want to give you a little bit of background. I'm going to talk to you and not just them. I want to give you a little bit of background. I'm from Israel. And when I grew up, I belonged to Shalom Achshav. And if there are Jewish people here who are with the peace group, they should know what Shalom Achshav is. It's an ultra-left, pro-peace group. And I marched for peace between Palestinians and Jews for many years in Israel. And then I am a doctor, and I was at Hadassah Hospital when the second Intifada hit, and I saw all the terror attacks and all the bombings, and I was a bit disillusioned. And then attack after attack, I was more and more disillusioned. And I realized after October 7, it took October 7 for me to realize that right now, there is no partner for peace. I'm sorry to say that. There is not one Jew in this room that doesn't want peace. Every one of us, if you ask us, would love to be part of a peace committee. We would love to have peace with our neighbors, peace with the Palestinians, peace with everyone. None of us want war. But you have to have a partner for peace. And when that group had that event with the kites, with the ceasefire now.
The partners are in Israeli jail.
Excuse me, please,
When-
ma'am.
Dr. Mendelson?
Talk to them.
Please.
Dr. Mendelson, wait.
Everyone has been respectful of the speaker.
When the
Please,
partners-
please be
Okay,
quiet.
I'm going to talk to you.
You gotta
Please,
talk
please
to us.
address
I
the
will address
commission.
you.
This
When
is
there
on
was
camera,
an event,
that's why.
When there was an event about the kites for the children of Gaza, and there were signs for ceasefire now, believe me, every one of us wants a ceasefire. Every one of us. None of us want war. But we felt that this was an attack on our ability to defend ourselves. And so we went there and peacefully protested it. But as these meetings became more and more common, there were elements that were brought into the city that are not from the city, that are groups or people that hate and that want to be violent against Jewish communities. And to me, that's scary. For 26 years here, I felt safe. And it's fine that there are peace groups and every opinion should be respected and heard. I do not want to silence anyone. But if you're having an event in my city and you're bringing outsiders, there has to be a way to make sure that it is safe for all of us. You can't bring in people that cause problems. And after the kite event, a few days after that was the incident at Regent Acker's house when his house was vandalized. And people would say there's no relationship or there is a relationship. I don't know. They don't even know who did it. So how would we know if there is or there isn't a relationship? But I feel scared now. What has happened that's different from the last 22 years that this group has been running is that there is hate now against Jews. And even though there are some Jews that disagree with that and they want to continue to talk about peace, that's great. don't bring in inflammatory elements into our neighborhood where our kids live and we feel threatened by them. And as a person here said just before me, if this was a KKK meeting, you would not allow it. You would not say free speech, because free speech comes to a certain point when there is intimidation and hate and threat of violence, then it is no longer free speech, and it is no longer allowed. So you know you would not allow a KKK meeting. So if there's a group of people that want to talk about peace, great, I'm all for that. But if they bring in other people from outside that promote hate, that must be looked at and that must be stopped.
Hi. I'm Zach Levine. I'm 13343 Nadine. I've worked in Huntington for about 14 years. And I wasn't really planning on speaking tonight, but you know, a lot of the things that have been said, I don't want to discount anybody as a Jew. I don't want to discount anybody's feelings of fear. That's heartbreaking. And you know, I hear Jordan Acker's name being brought up in the events that happened at his home, being brought up multiple times, and that was also a horrific thing. He's a friend of mine. Let's go together. And obviously, nobody is actually defending those actions, or shouldn't be, on either side of this thing. I do think that I want to echo what Ron had said regarding free speech and how that is also under attack at the federal level, more and more every day. I think it's interesting that this moratorium is being presented. I don't know if it's in directly response to the ceasefire group meeting or the attempt at the ceasefire group meeting, but it feels like it is. And I think that as an overall community, we can promote peace on both sides, and it's disappointing that that we seem to be very one-sided in who we're trying to keep from speaking in this community. And since I didn't really have anything prepped to say, that's about all I got. Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, my name is Aaron Feinberg. I'm a Huntington Woods resident. I'm not going to repeat a lot of what my friends and colleagues here have said. I find it scary, quite frankly, to see red triangles in our community. I find it scary, some of these events, to see folks coming with keffiyeh masks covering their faces, clearly with an intent to intimidate. What I want to say, this issue has nothing to do with Donald Trump. This issue has nothing to do with Elon Musk. It has nothing to do with the state of the federal government. It has everything to do with the safety of people in our community and our sense of serenity. I'll tell you, I find it deeply offensive to hear people in this community, my neighbors, questioning my sense of safety. I've lived in this community for 14 years. My wife and I have chosen to raise our children here. And to see people with antipathy, and I'm not talking about the people in this room, because I do think that most of these people are deeply concerned about the state of the conflict, and what I see is a tragedy with the Palestinian people. And I think you'd hear most of these people here agree with me. But I will tell you, I've lived here for 14 years. I've never until recently felt concerned about expressing my identity as a member, as a proud Jew, okay? So I just want to share that, just have, again, if it was another group, I think everybody would find it offensive for somebody to question somebody else's sense of fear and belonging. And I just wanted to share that with this group. So thank you for your time and your consideration.
Any other public comment?
My name is Jeff Schlussel, 13147 Sherwood. I really did not intend on speaking tonight, but I feel it just seems like I want to maybe echo some of the things that were said earlier, but I'll be brief. It seems like we sublimate our fundamental rights, our free speech rights, all the time for the betterment of society, for the betterment of this community. You can go through your codes and ordinances and probably find it's replete with probably multiple examples of that. One that comes to mind, we have noise ordinances, right? I can't blast music in the middle of the night because it's not appropriate for our community. This is not a difficult issue in my opinion. This is a simple one. We've talked about free speech is not an absolute right. There's time, place, and manner restrictions that was said earlier. This is clearly a manner and a place one. The symbols that were described earlier are offensive, they're hateful, they promote hate, they clearly promote violence because we've had it in our community multiple times already. You can try to say that they're not directly a result of this. I have find that very hard to believe. So I just think this is not even a fine line on free speech. This issue has crossed the line so far that this is a very simple decision. I think the council or the commission can make the moral and correct decision on this situation, on this issue. What's up?
Thank you. Okay. One last time, any more public comment? Okay, with that, I'm going to close public participation and move on to the regular items of business. A motion was made to move item 6 up to item number 1. Is the commission okay with that in the interest of the audience?
Yeah, I think Commissioner Olsman moved it and I supported it, so that's fine. I don't mind moving that item up
Okay.
on the agenda.
For those of you in the commission chamber, please, if you wanted to have a discussion, please go out into the lobby so that we can continue with the business here. So, do I need to vote on that?
Yes. Yeah, you just need to do a motion to amend the agenda at
So
this
the
point.
agenda was moved by Commissioner Rozelle, and seconded by Commissioner Steinhardt. So you're making a motion
To amend it and move item 6 up to item 1.
Do you accept that?
I accept that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. So the matter is consideration to deny the temporary moratorium on room rental and reservation applications. We don't really have a temporary moratorium, so I don't know that that's worded correctly.
It would be to deny the request for the temporary moratorium as
Deny
presented
the
last
request
time.
That was tabled at the last meeting.
Right.
Once again, if we could have everyone please be quiet. Do we have a motion?
To deny the moratorium?
Yes.
You want to give our city attorney, you just put the motion out there. I'll make a motion to deny the moratorium for the time being. That we tabled it the last time, and I would make a motion, you want to call it motion to continue the table, motion to deny the moratorium, whatever it is. Keep the status quo is what I would recommend we do.
Well, yeah, I guess that raises a couple of issues. I mean, you could do a motion to remove it from the table and then motion to deny it or approve it or whatever you want to do with it.
Well, we
Or you
tabled
could just
it to
keep
this
it
meeting, certainly.
laying on the table, but then it would stay on the table the next time, so. My view is I do not anticipate any further delay beyond the next meeting. I do anticipate to have a draft at the next meeting. I think the 30 days was a little bit optimistic when I suggested that that was possible at the last meeting, especially since I was going to be out of town for a while. And as the legal practice goes, the best laid plans are always made to fail. But we are making progress. I've had a lot of very fruitful discussions with the administration. I've been polling, working from the various sample policies and getting pen to paper, but it's just not completed yet. So I don't see a problem with that by the next time, so.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to ask the attorney a question, if I may.
Excuse me.
Do we need to take action? I mean, we tabled the item from the last meeting to this agenda. But is there a requirement that we actually take action? There is nothing in place right now.
Right.
So just not taking any action means the status quo.
That would be true. I mean, the last motion was to table for 30 days to this meeting. So the implication was that there would be some sort of action. But if there's no motion to take it off the table, then it would stay tabled. It would reappear in conjunction with the policy next month, and you'd go from there.
I mean,
that's.
We could have a motion on the table to put the moratorium in place, which was the original motion, and then take a vote on that. And that would
Right.
clear it off.
Exactly.
The agenda.
You could have just the up or down vote on it.
I will warn the maker of this motion that they cannot vote against it as the maker.
Motion to put the moratorium in place.
Yes, because that was the original motion.
So if nobody makes the motion, I guess the status quo continues.
Right, if there's no support for the motion, then the motion dies.
So it's going to reappear.
Well, it can reappear at the next meeting,
As
along
a-
with, hopefully, what we will see is a draft policy to deal with this issue, the substance of it.
Or we could move this off of our agenda, knowing that we have a policy coming forward, so that we don't have to keep addressing the moratorium. It just requires a positive motion in order to do that.
So if the motion is made to impose the moratorium, then the next question is whether it gets any support. If it doesn't get any support, then it dies.
Correct.
But if it gets support, then we vote.
Whoever
it up or
supports it
down.
can vote against it, it's only the maker that can vote against it.
Well, rolling the dice, I'd say.
I mean, Mr. Mayor, I'm not looking to get tied up in parliamentary procedure or Robert's Rules of Order. I just think that it's best that we just move this item to when we're ready to actually take up the policy, and if that's the next meeting, then that's best. These permits or requests can continue to be evaluated in the interim, and we'll address it, at the next.
We're going to be in the same situation at the next meeting. We still have to address the motion that was tabled.
Yes, but it'd be at the same, you're saying you'd have a
Right.
policy for the next meeting, so we'd be addressing it simultaneously.
Well, it'll be two different items.
Yeah.
You don't want to take care of it? I can't make a
My
motion.
concern is that in 30 days, we're not going to have a policy that's been reviewed by the various advisory boards.
I think it will be at a point where it will have been reviewed, well, yeah, at least by the administration. I still need full directions to exactly what advisory boards the commission wants it in front of.
Well, on that topic, I think that this is a legal issue for the city. Me personally, I think it's a legal issue for the city. I think it deals with many of the speakers have identified, the issue of balancing First Amendment considerations, safety of the community, evaluating content, prior restraint. These are legal issues, and I'm always interested in what any committee would want to say about it, but I'm not for delaying this ultimate resolution that we're hoping could come in a month in terms of a policy to give, to turn it over to one or two committees or, within the city and say, formally vote on it. I mean, there's anybody who wants to appear and comment can certainly do that, but I want to move this issue forward. We're getting into warm weather now. There's besides all the conversation that we've had here, there will be a lot of requests for permits and things like that for other things, and I don't want to get that process tied up with this, and unfortunately right now it sort of is. So I want to conclude this. I'm not against having, for example, the Parks and Rec Board tell us what they think. I'm not against having the anti-racism committee tell us what they think, or the library board. It's fine, but I don't want it tied up pending another group's formal review. I'm for getting input, sure, but I want to put this matter to rest. We've had 2 meetings that have made it very clear the residents of the city are very concerned about this. We haven't seen involvement like this in a long time. It's a very serious topic. Everything that's been expressed here tonight is serious on every level. So I want to come to a conclusion. We have skin in the game. It's our decision, and I want to make it.
So for tonight, do we have a motion to table the moratorium to the next city
So
commission
moved.
meeting?
I'll make that motion. The table.
Do we have a support?
I'll support it.
Thank you.
On the motion, Mr. Mayor, I want to make something clear. And my colleague is absolutely 100% right. And to drive the point home, I want everyone to understand, we received an email from a department head in this city that was like, well, I don't want my building affected. I want to continue to regulate the building how I want. And I want to be clear, that's our role. Their job is to carry out the day-to-day operations of the city. Our job is to set policy, not individual department heads. And so I want to be really clear that if we're letting these folks review it, the key thing is here, we're not going to have limited zones where a political organization can rent out this building, but not the commission chambers or the rec center. That's where we get into legal trouble. And that's where this policy is critical. I think the other thing that was mentioned tonight along this line is the single point of entry for these applications. This city has been the Wild West for too long. It goes back, predates a lot of us that we're left to clean up, but we are now faced with having to address it right now, and we will. And the single point of entry for these should involve a review by public safety, a review by the city manager, a review by the city attorney, not just some individual department head acting in a capacity granting or denying these permits. So I have a lot of concerns, and a member of the public said this. Look at the charter. We have a lot of responsibilities in the charter. The number one is to protect the public health, safety, and welfare. Period, hard stop. That's the number one issue that we're responsible for. So as we move down this road, do I want advisory boards to look at it? Do I want department heads to look at it? Sure, but in the end, the buck stops here, and in the end, they're all indemnified, but we're the ones on the hook that are going to be sued. So I want to be clear that we're going to be the decider. And Commissioner Olsman is 100% right. It cannot slow the process down. We have an obligation to be deliberate, but we also have an obligation to resolve. You heard the people tonight. They want it resolved fast.
Okay. Matt, any other comments?
Yeah, well, I think that
That was a lot to digest.
I think the happy medium of that is we look at the policy at the next meeting. If the commission decides that it needs input from advisory boards, then that would be your instruction, and you wouldn't vote on the policy at that meeting. And if the presence or absence.
Have a lot of conversation about this
exactly.
policy.
I suspect there will be.
From a procedural perspective, though, so if we want to ask for input from the groups, from the advisory board members that we have appointed, who act on our behalf as the commission and help to support us and our departments, Can that be done outside of a formalized meeting that they're having?
No, that would need to be at a,
Okay.
it's a public decision-making process.
And so, I don't know if it's Heidi or Chris, be able to tell us which of the various advisory boards are meeting soon, so where we might want to seek that input from a calendar perspective, what's next?
Yes, I can tell you that. The Parks and Rec Board actually meets tomorrow night because they would normally meet next week, but spring break is up. So this was not on their agenda, Tracy, I don't believe?
It is just to update from
Okay.
what happens tonight at this meeting, to update.
Anti-racism meets would meet before we would meet again. What was the other board?
Parks and Rec.
Library Advisory.
Library.
Yeah, that one I'm blanking. I don't remember the night that they meet. But
They met last night, so.
I think it,
okay.
I think it's difficult to ask for input when there isn't even a policy on
Right.
paper. It's,
But on the other.
we're gonna have
hand,
to just see how this evolves.
let's let it go to
Do
the
the
next.
best we can.
I also think that it should be clear here too, that there have been extensive discussions with Matt, myself, and Chris, and outside sources knowledgeable on these topics, because as people have said tonight, and they're right, we gotta get it right. And this is not easy stuff. This is complicated, and as has been repeated tonight, the Mr. Doctoroff was very clear on this point and was correct. It's a matter of balance. There's a lot of factors to balance here. And so, like I said, I'm not trying to cut somebody out of the debate, but at the end of the day, the decision, like Joe says, it has to be made here. So I'm for tabling it. Let's see where we're at, and then, but I don't want to keep kicking it down the road. We got to make a decision.
All right, but I have to open this up to public comment. Is there any comment from the public? Okay, seeing none, any other comments or questions of the commission? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So moving up to the former number one, a matter of considering approval and authorizing the city manager to execute a guaranteed energy services agreement with Verigy Services as presented. Chris, do you want to?
Sure, thank you. So we had the special meeting on March 11th. We had representatives from Verigy there. Ed and Paul are back with us again tonight. So we spoke at some length about the construction project. We went over the scope of work, the energy guarantee, the financials for that. So we had a contract that night for your review. That was previously reviewed by previous city attorney Rosati. Matt Zaleski has reviewed the revisions, including the attachments that were included to that, and has signed off on this. So as you know, we've been working on this project for probably about 3 years now. At the direction of the commission from that special meeting on the 11th, I put this forward back for your approval tonight. Also, as a follow-up, I did lock in the rate through Bank of America as we discussed that night. That's not committing us to necessarily work with them, but Finance Director Hahn has been reached out to other banks. As we kind of knew and we're kind of verifying at this point. Bank of America does have a good kind of a niche working with these Public Act 112 agreements. We have not been able yet to beat their rate. It has been a very competitive rate, so we do have that rate locked in. If that's the route we do choose to go with, we'll advise the commission. But banks either didn't have the capacity or they couldn't beat the rate that Bank of America has provided. One thing I did include extra in the packet tonight, information from Verigy, to ask about the CO2 savings of this annually over the life of the contract. So I included that email in the back of the packet. We would save, by implementing this work over the course of a year, we would save every year over the 20 years of the project about 279.3 tons of CO2 within Huntington Woods. That's roughly the equivalent of planting about 4,600 trees each year. So, as we discussed a lot that night, it does have a positive financial impact of about $1.8 million back to the city over 20 years. but also there's pretty significant environmental impact as well. So I wanted to give you that information. So the contract, I think, has been reviewed by city administration, by the city attorney. It's ready to be approved. I think the commission's aware of the scope of the work and the financials. If you're ready to approve it, I'm asking for authorization to do that and move forward with Verigy at this time. Thank you.
We have a motion?
I move, Mr. Mayor, to approve the Verigy energy agreement. It's a very big project. But it's a very important thing, I think, for the city. I think Verigy has offered us a very reasonable approach to it, and I support what they want to do, and I would move that we approve that contract.
I'll second it.
Is there any public comment?
Hal Stack, 13108 Talbot Avenue. It appears that Verigy doesn't understand that the initial purpose of the city's energy plan some years ago was to help move the city to being carbon neutral. Just does not do that very seriously. So the solar approach is quite limited. It doesn't take advantage of possibility of microgrids or virtual power plants. Doesn't seem to be use of any batteries as opposed to generators. Batteries are safer, batteries are cheaper, more effective, etc. No use of heat pumps. Now, heat pumps are being a national priority and a state priority, and everywhere from Norway to Italy to Germany to England to Maine to New Hampshire to Minnesota to Wisconsin. And we sold more heat pumps than gas furnaces in the last year for good reason. They are 3 to 4 times more effective than your typical high efficiency furnace. And in fact, you didn't seriously consider even using geothermal. And Commissioner Elder were here, she would appreciate the fact that there is a woman-owned HVAC company, which is highly regarded, which does all sorts of heat pump work, including geothermal, has done many geothermal heat pumps, particularly downriver. Most hospitals and universities are moving to the same geothermal technology. The approach to LED lighting is fine, except you're not specifying what kind of LED lights you're using, what color coordinated temperatures are you using for your own domestic lightings that you own, as well as what you're going to do with DTE. Now, DTE has been described by the Michigan Utility Commission as providing cities with LED lights that are too bright and too costly. Some cities, Ann Arbor being an example, have negotiated with DTE to actually get safe, efficient, cheaper LED lights that have a color correction temperature of at least less than 3,000. DTE wants to sell you 4,000. They make more money, it's brighter, it's less safe, it's more glare. Another question that jumps out is, did you talk to the school system about properly partnering with you in this arena? And are you going to get some discount for citizens who want to access opportunities to do solar in their homes? And then finally, the point that Chris made is really an insult to Commissioner Elder. So saying that the emission reduction is 279 tons and even 4,000 trees does not really answer her question. The question is, how much of a reduction from the total is it? This really doesn't tell us anything except there's some reduction. So I find the proposal fairly inadequate, obviously. So thank you.
Any other public comment? All right, any
Comments or questions from the commission?
Mr. Mayor, just one, and I know that in the first 5 years, we are measuring the guaranteed savings, and then, it kind of stops, and I know we can't bind like future commissions, but I would just encourage, that we continue to do that, for the minimal cost, I think, of $5,000 to $6,000, I think, a year, to have the measurement continued and make sure that the performance guarantee, if you will, is being met, I think is worthwhile. So I know it's included in the first 5 years, but I'd like to see it measured, through year 20.
I agree with Commissioner Roselle on bringing them back after those first 5 years. Maybe it doesn't need to be annually, but having some cadence to ensure that it lives up to the guarantee that they've put into their contract.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2 is consideration of approval, the quote for Rec Desk for a registration software subscription for the Huntington Woods Parks and Recreation Department, in the amount of $18,100. Tracy, just address that quickly, or? I can very quickly, and then I'll turn it over to Tracy. Just for councils, we've been using a system called Rec Pro for many years for our signing up our residents for our recreation programs. Unfortunately, that's no longer being in service as of fall of this year, so we needed to look for a new program. They did extensive research on 5 different recreation software programs. We felt Rec Desk was really the best option for our residents and for the finance department and for the city as a whole. So we've reviewed this quite a bit with Tracy. You see our recommendation, the proposal from Rec Desk. So we're looking for approval from the commission at this time to accept the contract, the quote from Rec Desk, and allow us to move forward with this before Rec Pro no longer is in service. And I'll maybe turn it over to Tracy if she wants to kind of expand on Rec Desk's options and operation.
Keep it building. To go up there.
Yeah, please, if you could, to the podium.
Yes, we've been looking for a new recreation registration program for a while, and we've done, we think, our due diligence on finding the best one that will work for our residents, for our department. I know we've worked with Ethan too to make sure, it fits in with everything that he has to do on our end, from the finance department. They're very user-friendly. They have like 24/7 service if we need it. And there was, I think, 5 of us at the recreation center that sat in 6 different settings where they showed us online their product, what they can and can't do. We asked a million questions back at them, and then we came to the decision that Rec Desk was definitely the way to go.
Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll move we enter into an agreement with Rec Desk in the amount of $18,100.
Second.
Any public comment? Comments or questions from the commission?
My only question is how the pricing compares to the company that went out of business. Is it comparable in terms of cost?
It's very comparable. Ethan and I had that conversation too. It's very comparable to what we've already had.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is a matter of awarding the Parks and Rec 5-year master plan for the years of 2025 to 2030 to McKenna of Northville, Michigan, in the amount of $27,500. We have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments, Chris? Or? No, thank you to the, just quickly, I said no, then I'm gonna say something. Thank you to the subcommittee, Commissioner Steinhardt, Finance Director Hahn, Director Shanley, and myself. We spent time going over the 6 bids that were submitted. We were all pretty unanimous in our selection of the top 2, and I'll really concur that McKenna probably had the best profile, I think, to do this particular project. We submitted the top 2 selections to the Parks and Rec Board, and they concurred. Their recommendation letter was attached to the packet as well. They concurred on the selection of McKenna as well. So we have some familiarity with their work, familiarity with their staff, and I think they will do a good job on this, and look forward to getting this reviewed. I did ask, just, you might see in the packet, there was something called Addendum 2. That was because we were a little backed up in the process, and we did send it to the Parks and Rec Board for their review. So I have an updated schedule for them. Included in that, there was a section regarding outreach to other boards and commissions. There's been some maybe recommendation that we could expand that, and we could. Those are at our discretion and at our cost. It's around $750 a session if they wanted to meet with. I think they should definitely meet with the Planning Commission. They're already working with the Parks and Rec Board. If you want to have them meet with Historic District or any other group, that's doable, and this contract gives us the flexibility to do that. And you see the timetable in there for getting this implemented, which I think is reasonable, and I'm confident they'll be able to deliver that.
Any public comment?
Seems like a very competent firm. I'm not sure why the city would not encourage interested citizens to participate in that first visioning session. Most cities I know want to encourage citizen engagement in a meaningful way like that. So I would encourage you to enable other citizens who are interested to participate in that visioning session. The proposal also says that this will put the city in the forefront of sustainability. It's not clear how they're going to do that. I appreciate the fact that you dumped the last contract on the parks, which was pathetic. But one of the reasons it was pathetic is that while it recommended numerous parking additions, it did not say a damn thing about permeable pavement. It does say nothing about stormwater management. I cannot believe that you even considered it. So hopefully this will be a fresh start, and I can't help but think it'll be successful, and look forward to seeing the results. Thank you.
Any comments or questions from the commission?
Mr. Mayor, just one. Do we know why these 3 firms submitted an RFP yet didn't submit a price?
Sure. So the RFP didn't specifically call for a price. It was really, we call it an RFP, it was really more a request for qualifications.
Oh, okay.
To see it, so as you see out of the 6, 3 did, 3 didn't. We reviewed all of them. The other firms that didn't, when we talked about this, I could have reached out to them, asked them to submit a price, but we were all pretty consistent on who the top 2 were, and both of those had submitted prices. Now, the firm you're picking, McKenna, was not the lower price. Manic Smith actually had a slightly lower price than them, but had we felt they were in the top group, we would have asked them to clarify what their pricing would be, but just their portfolio didn't match as well as McKenna or Manic Smith with this particular project. So it wasn't I wouldn't call it a oversight on their part. It wasn't requested specifically with the RFP process.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to thank City Manager Wilson for including me in the process. I appreciated that the commission got to participate in reviewing the proposals, and I believe this was communicated to Commissioner Elder, who had also asked questions about the pricing, and I would say 2 of the 3 that did not include prices would have been great, and I concur with, I think it was Chris that you had made this comment to her, would be great if you said, re-envision this one singular park and come up with this plan. Like, they were very creative and innovative, I think, in their approaches to the communities that they had worked with. Perhaps not master plan appropriate types of proposals, but could potentially be firms we would go back to for other types of needs that we might have in re-envisioning space.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is considering approval of the contract with Chris Morgan Associates for commission room renovations in the amount of $100,000.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this was part of the capital improvement program for the 2024 to 2025 budget. There's been a need identified among city staff and city commission to renovate this space. The zoning administrator, Hank, and myself, we met with various contractors. We did not get a lot of interest, mostly because of the scale of the project. Most contractors like bigger ticket items, and the way we're choosing to do this incrementally to preserve, capital and to be cost effective isn't usually in line with what contractors want. So we didn't get a lot of interest, but Chris Morgan Associates expressed interest. There's a list in the packet of different improvements we will make. I'm most excited about these tables and chairs because I'm pretty sure they're older than I am.
They owe us nothing.
They owe us nothing. They're fully depreciated. Yes.
Fully
yes,
depreciated, yes.
So, I welcome comment if there's members of the commission who want other things included. I did add, so the proposal is for 100,000. Chris Morgan did 75,000. I put a little more on for tariffs, inflation, and for carpeting, because we'll have to put carpet down as well.
Is there room, you think, in that budget to do some work in the kitchen with respect to for the benefit of our staff, talk about not owing you anything.
It's probably also older than I am.
It's not a huge renovation. It would just be the area with the cabinets and the countertop, and it's very dated, worn, beat up. So I'm just wondering if you think there's any room at all in terms of budget to make some
to rehabilitate that space.
Not talking about the whole room. I'm talking about just the counter, the sink, all that stuff is really, really worn. Thinking about you.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. I will speak with Mr. Morgan on this. I'm sure we can work something out.
Something reasonable.
Yes.
I know where they can get granted at a good price.
If the commission's agreeable, then I think at that direction, if something could be arranged that would fit in the budget approved by council, we can see if we can accommodate that. The stove was donated. I got it out of my basement. It was better than what we had. We didn't have one.
Donate it to Sacra.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any public comment? Any comments or questions from the commission?
I spent many Tuesday evenings here as a child, and it looks exactly the same as it did then. So yes, it is all older than you. So yes, I'm looking forward to being renovated.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I think we've actually been kicking this down the road for at least 5 years, maybe longer.
At least, yeah. We're able to pay cash now, call it a day.
And I am sure you can get some granite countertops donated for the kitchen, so we can twist somebody's arm. Next item is approving and authorizing the finance director to purchase a new leaf claw from AIS Corporation in the amount of $20,818 for your own personal use.
Yes. My wife will really like it. The department director, Rocco Fortura, came to me and said this was a need, and as I usually do, I found some money in the general fund budget of their department for this. And the reason that this is before council is because it's over $5,000 and considered a capital purchase. This is going to substantially speed up leaf collection for the public works employees, because as you can see in the pictures, you can take and just go and scoop it up, and reduces the manual labor needed to rake leaves into bins and things like that. So this would allow Public Works employees to focus on other things rather than just leaf collection, and that will contribute to a cleaner city.
We have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any public comment? Comments or questions from the commission? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7. We have in front of us this evening a letter from City Manager Chris Wilson, exercising his 30-day notice of resignation from the position as city manager. Do we have a motion to regretfully accept this letter with thanks for your years of service to the community, but we're going to work you hard for 30 more days, just so you know.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Reluctantly seconded.
Any public comment? Where's Hal? He left. Would you like to say anything?
I thought everybody was here for me tonight. Thank you. I know I've had the opportunity to talk to each one of you this week. Believe it or not, somehow in the chaos of tonight, I've lost this. I don't know, right? I lost my agenda and I lost that item, but I can remember what I wrote. No, I've had the opportunity to talk to all of you, and again, regretfully, I have had another job opportunity that's come up, and after discussion with my spouse, we determined it's really in my family's best interest and my best interest to accept that at this time, so I will be doing that. So I've asked for approval of my 30-day notice. My last day of employment would be April the 18th. I will be here for the next meeting, and yeah, we've got a lot to do. Before then, I'll work most of that, save for 1 week of vacation that was already planned. But I appreciate very much the opportunity to come here to follow up in the footsteps of people like Mark Wollenweber and Alex Alley and Amy, who I knew very well for many years. It's been a great opportunity, and I'll remember most all of it very fondly. And stuff I don't remember fondly, I usually forget. But as I said in the comments, it's been a pleasure working with this commission. I said it's probably easily, as a group, the best commission I've ever worked with. I told you that, Joe, but that bar is maybe not as high as you might think. But all said, you've still been a very good group to work with, and I've appreciated all of you. Previous city attorney Carol Rosati as well, all of the staff here. I'll give more thanks out later when I have more time, and it's hopefully not quite as late. Yes, I think I gave you the final dates in there. I appreciate working with you, and I appreciate the opportunity again.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. City manager's report.
Yes, it is that time. I do have a couple of things, but unlike most people, I did come here planning to talk tonight. But I'll try to make this very briefly. And I know I've also informed you as well of the retirement of Rocco Fortura. His last day will be April the 25th. So I didn't mention that at the last meeting. I wanted to mention that now and probably again. Rocco, I've known Rocco before his time, even with the city of Huntington Woods, and appreciate his service to the community, and we should recognize that again. But I didn't want to go by another meeting without mentioning that. And, we will be working diligently on Rocco's replacement, as difficult as that will be. But I've appreciated his time, and I know council has shared those sentiments with me as well. Budget work for the budget is ongoing. There is a budget workshop on April the 29th. Am I correct about that? I'll be doing a lot of work. Finance Director Hahn has done a tremendous amount of work already. I'm behind in getting things to him that I need to, but I will rectify that, and we will move forward, and I'll square up as much of that as I can. But I think the budget work is looking good. There'll be some long-term, I think, talks about, particularly in the realm of capital financing, that we'll talk about going forward. I know, as you're all aware, there is a detour that started Monday last week on 690, 2 weeks ago, last week. It's run 2 weeks ago. So we were aware of that. We realized there would be additional traffic. The volume of it, especially the first couple of days, did surprise us a bit. Talked a lot with Director Pazakowski about this. They are doing more directed patrols. I mean, frankly, there's a lot of people driving through here who don't normally drive through here, apparently unaware of the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit. So there have been tickets issued, not only by us, also by Berkeley, who've been stepped up patrol as well. We've made use of the speed trailer on different days, notifying people of the speed limit. Volumes are modifying a bit. It is still heavier than it will be, and I think that's probably going to continue through most of the life of this project, unfortunately. The official detour from down the lodge to the Davis Center back up to the 75 I think is being used by exactly nobody, as we largely anticipated. So it is putting stress on the mile roads, not just here, but 12 Mile as well. But I think public safety is doing a good job. We are emphasizing the speed limit of 30 miles an hour, but the traffic congestion will probably continue, and we will direct patrol out there as necessary. We talked about at the last meeting the RFP for the pool cafe services. That RFP deadline was last week, and we received no bids for that. So I've directed, we tried, we advertised it. We only got one last year, and that person did not choose to bid again after I did reach out to them. So I have worked with Tracy and Sarah Finegood, who's the director now running the pool. So she has a very good plan in place, and we will continue to move forward with operations. I think there's going to be a lot more detailed offerings this year and more variety of services, and Sarah's putting together a pretty good, I think a very robust plan for that. Last thing I want to talk to you a little bit is, and I appreciate the comments tonight you made about the situation on Nadine, and we're addressing that. Because we're looking at a project, we're going to be going forward with a project on Scotia this year from 11 Mile to Lincoln. It's going to be a mill and fill project. We've already done some of the preliminary work on that. There's a couple of issues we're dealing with. There were brick pavers that were put in front of the library, in front of the rec center, and across the crosswalks. They've not held up well because it's Michigan, and that's kind of what happens to bricks when you put them in. The freeze-thaw cycle does not hold up well for that. So we're looking at some alternatives, including concrete and stamped concrete, which will look like brick, but it'll be a stamped concrete to identify the crosswalks. Also had some pretty extensive conversations again with Director Pazakowski about our current crosswalk configuration, particularly in front of the library, in front of the rec center, in front of Burden School. He is going to bring in the Transportation Improvement Authority, TIA, of which we're a member, ask them to look at that. They've made some attempts over the years to try to direct more people to cross at Hart instead of at Boardman, because we try to man all three of those crosswalks the best we can, but we have limited crosswalk staff availability, have limited public safety availability. So I think we're going to reevaluate. There's a four-way stop at Boardman, and there's also one at Nadine. Maybe reconfigure where those four-way stops are to try to slow traffic down a little bit. Maybe move the four-way stop at Boardman south and concentrate the crosswalk connections directly in front of the school and in front of the rec center. I think would make that area safer, and would keep the number of four-way stops. We may just reconfigure that a bit to make it work better and safer for the community. So if TIA advises against that, we won't go forward with it. But while we're doing the road this year, we want to reconsider where those crosswalks are, and I'll report back to the commission on that. If we do make a change, it would require a traffic control order to be approved by this body, so you would get that. But I wanted to let you know we are looking into that. As the road's being done, this will be the time to redo that when we're marking where those crosswalks will be. So getting in consideration with our crosswalk staff that we have available, how many of those we can man on any given day, and where people are tend to congregate and to cross there, we'll try to, if necessary, modify that to better fit traffic and pedestrian patterns. That's the end of my report, and thank you.
Any questions for the city manager from city council?
Mr. Mayor, with respect to traffic leaving 11 Mile and coming up Boardman or whatever street in the city, are we getting a lot of what you might call off 11 Mile traffic?
There's been increased traffic along Lincoln. This Scotia area does back up. I think people are coming off of, when they can, even the 10-mile drive coming up Scotia to 11 Mile. They're finding their own way around as they will do. I would say probably coming northbound on Scotia, there's been a noticeable queuing there. And I think more cross-traffic on Lincoln. That's what we've noticed directly. Boardman a little bit, but I think more on Lincoln and Scotia.
And second, has there been any, just based on the sheer volume of traffic and the fact that so many of the intersections along 11 Mile Road involve trying to make a left-hand turn going west on 11 Mile, has there been any kind of a noticeable uptick in kind of accidents or things like that to date?
Accidents, no. We've had no increase in accidents, no injuries. But with a 4-lane road like that, keep your head on a swivel as you go through there, because people are stopping and people are trying to get around people who are stopped. Without a dedicated left turn lane, that's the issues you face. And I think the bigger issue is just a lot of people coming through here who aren't familiar with the area. So fortunately to date, we had to bring that up, right? We've had no increased accidents, but the speed trailer.
It's an interesting experience, we'll say that.
Yeah, and I think it's gotten better as people are finding their path around now. But yeah, they are working diligently on that.
Mr. Mayor?
Sorry, I just want to say that I appreciate you relooking at some of the intersections near the school after there was a child hit recently over there by the library. I think the fact that we're getting some attention is well needed. I know there's been lots of other concerns around some of those intersections. And I would love if we're bringing in the Transportation Authority, relooking at the entrances and exits to the existing parking lot at Parks and Rec and the school, and the signage. I've seen people going, out the entrance. And so making sure that we have good signage there as well, as part of all of that work along Scotia, I think will be really beneficial to the parents, of which I am one, who drops their child off there every morning.
I'll make a note of that. Duly noted. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, one of the things I'm noticing as these road projects are starting is a lot of tree removal from the right-of-way. So much that it is fundamentally changing the way the city looks. And so I'm wondering if we can get a report on the number of trees that have been removed and the number of trees that are being proposed to being removed. I mean, I drove down some streets that are slated to be done, and I was shocked at the sheer number that was removed. Now, I know, that we're not out to just, cut every tree down. And I know that many of them likely won't survive the road improvement. But I think that because it is fundamentally changing the way these streets look, we need to do a better job of maybe changing the scope of the project to adjust rather than massively change the way the city looks. I mean, pretty soon, that Tree USA designation could very likely go away. I mean, if you've driven down, Scotia, Meadowcrest, look at the number of trees that have been removed. The entire street looks different in certain sections. And I know we're gonna plant something to replace it, but it'll never get to the size it is in any of our lifetime. So.
Well, maybe yours.
Well, I don't know about all that, but.
Not me and Jewel.
But could we get a report on the number that have been removed or are proposed to be removed? I would appreciate that, just so I can get a handle on what we're looking at.
Yes,
Thank
we
you.
have those numbers. I'll report those back.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner comments? Pro Tem?
All commented out.
Commissioner Rozell?
Same.
Commissioner Steinhardt? Okay, no comments for me, so do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.